Hi, my name is Beth, and I'm a programming assistant for the St. Johns County Public Library System, and you are watching In the Bubble with Beth, a program where we make things. It's fall, pears are in season, and I thought we would make a stenciled pear tote bag. Who couldn't use another tote bag for their library books? So this project is very simple. It doesn't even take very long to do. Let me go ahead and show you what we need to get started. To get started with this project, you're going to need a canvas tote bag. You can get these at any craft store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, or you can purchase those online. You'll need some freezer paper. You can get that at the grocery store. We'll need two pieces, one piece that is roughly the same size as your tote bag, and that's what we'll be creating our pear stencil with. And then a second piece, also about the same size, that you can put inside the bag while we're painting, so it doesn't, the paint doesn't bleed through to the other side. You will need a pair of scissors and a pencil. I could only find this blue pencil in my house, but a regular pencil is fine. You will need some black and green paint. Either acrylic paint, which is what I'm using, or fabric paint. Either one will work. Just a note on the green, I've got this kind of lime green. In fact, I believe that's the color, lime green. But you can achieve the same color if you have just a basic color palette. You can take green and yellow and a little bit of white, mix those together and get the same lime green. You'll also need two paint brushes. This brush is a little bit of a wider head, and that way I can paint the pear in a timely manner. But then we'll also need a brush with a finer head to it so that we can paint the stem. And that's pretty much all we're going to need, although we will also need an iron to iron on our stencil to the bag. But that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to take my first piece of freezer paper and just have a look at it. There's a side that is shiny and there's a side that's matte. I want to take the shiny side and put it down on the table. First, I'm actually going to put it over my tote bag and just think about for a second where I want the pear to be on my bag. You could have it in the center, you could have it to one side or the other. I'm going to go ahead and just do it to the side. So I'm going to draw my pear shape on this matte side of the paper. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you want, you can have a pear around just to kind of remind you of their shape, but they just basically taper up towards the top. It's wider at the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have drawn my pear shape onto the piece of paper, and the next thing I need to do is cut it. So I'm going to take my scissors and open them up so that I've got just a single point, and I'm going to puncture the center of the pear like that, and then I'm just going to take that point and use it to cut out my pear. And this is what we're going to be using as a template to paint the pear. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the whole shape out and hold on to the piece that surrounds the pear, because this is what's going to get ironed onto our bag so that we can paint. Okay, so the next step is to actually iron the freezer paper onto our canvas tote bag. So again, I'm going to take my template and take that shiny side and put it down on the bag. And I'm going to arrange the template onto the bag so that the pear shape is where I want it to be on my bag. And I'm going to make sure that I leave enough room at the top that I can draw a little stem onto the bag. So let me show you what I'm doing. My freezer paper onto the bag, how I want my pear to be. I've got my iron set on medium, and I'm just gonna gently iron the paper. That shiny side is going to melt onto the paper and seal the edges. So you just kind of want to go around all the way around the edges, and you might even want to, press down with your fingers a little bit after you've gone over the whole thing, just to make sure that it will that it's all sealed. What we'll be doing once this is on here really good, then we will paint the inside of our pear. Okay, I think that's pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and just press it down and make sure it's sealed. Okay. And so now I'm going to go ahead and unplug my iron and move this back to a spot where I can paint. Okay, so I have now ironed on my stencil onto the tote bag, and I've moved it over to the table. I've gone ahead and put a second piece of freezer paper inside the tote bag so that once I start painting it doesn't bleed through to the other side. And I've taken a little scrap piece of freezer paper and use that as a little palette to put my green paint on. So let me go ahead and show you what I am doing. So here's my tote bag with my stencil ironed on. Here's that freezer paper inside the bag, and here's my little scrap of freezer paper that I'm going to use that I used as a little palette. I'm going to go ahead and take my bigger brush, and I'm just gonna fill in the pear. So I'll just fill in the entire pear. If I get a little bit on the paper, that's okay, because the paper is gonna be peeled off. So I'll go ahead and fill this whole thing in. You can see there's a little spot here where I didn't get it ironed down all the way. So as I'm painting right here, I'm gonna need to hold it down. I can't do it as I film, but I'm gonna hold it down with one hand and paint with the other so that I make sure that I get a nice clean edge. So I'll just keep going. Okay, so I have painted my entire pear in. There were moments when I was painting that, there's folds in the fabric, so sometimes I'd have to kind of manipulate the brush so that I made sure that I got the entire canvas covered with paint. So all I'm going to do now is just wait a few minutes for this to dry, and then we're going to be peeling off the freezer paper. But let's go ahead and let it dry. I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to clean my brush out really nicely, and I'll be right back. So I have let the paint dry mostly, and I'm going to go ahead and just gently start peeling the freezer paper up. Okay, so I've peeled it up and just set that freezer paper to the side. That can just go in the garbage. You can see there's a couple little spots where the paint kind of doesn't have quite a clean of an edge as the rest. And again, that was probably it wasn't ironed down enough, and I didn't hold the paper down enough. while I was painting, but I'm not going to sweat it. It's so tiny and you can't even tell. So my last step now is to take my smaller brush, just dip it in a little bit of black paint and draw a stem or paint a stem. I might have to do that in a couple of layers. But that's it. There's my pear tote bag. Now I can let that dry, and then I'd be ready to put my library books in there and head out the door. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too. I think that this design is something that you could adapt to many different kinds of bags if you wanted. You could use the whole template idea to make a strawberry or a watermelon slice or a lemon slice. There's all kinds of different fruits that aren't difficult to draw out the basic shape, and then you can just paint in the design. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment on it, and share it. Please keep tuning in to the St. Johns County Public Library System's Facebook page and YouTube channel for all kinds of content for adults, teens, and children. And I hope we see you soon at the library. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.